in single. It's not turned on.
Good morning. We'll be starting service in just a couple of minutes. Welcome, welcome. Good morning. I'm the Reverend Julianne Lepp, and it is a pleasure to be with you this morning. And we're going to talk about kindness. And in this time of holidays, and we're in the midst of some people are celebrating Hanukkah, some are preparing for Christmas, or just in general, trying to move around and feel like we're celebrating in this time of being apart and in the midst of a pandemic. And we have to remember to be kind to ourselves, to know that what we're doing is a celebration, not and hopefully not a burden, and trying to find the light in this time. My words this morning for our opening words are a litany of wholeheartedness by the Reverend Don Sky Cooley. Because there have been times when shame has crushed our ability to be wholehearted, we let go of who we ought to be and embrace who we are. Because we have not always had the courage to be imperfect, we let go of who we ought to be and embrace who we are. Because we have struggled to have compassion for ourselves or others, we let go of who we ought to be and embrace who we are. Because we have been afraid of our own vulnerability, we let go of who we ought to be and embrace who we are. Because we are sometimes too scared to live authentically, we let go of who we ought to be and embrace who we are. Because we want to be wholehearted people, confident in our worthiness and our belonging, we let go of who we ought to be and embrace who we are. I'm the Reverend Julianne Lepp, minister of this Unitarian Universalist congregation in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And it's a pleasure to have you in our virtual services. We'll be doing those through May of 2021. Come, let us worship together. And we will be starting this morning with music from Fred Hobley as our music for gathering.
Hi, I'm Amy Johnson, and this is my son, Sam Johnson. And what do you have to say, Sam?
I don't have any presents to give to anybody.
You don't have any presents to give anybody? Oh, that's right. Usually we have the holiday gift shop that we do downstairs in the basement. People donate things, and the kids can go down with $1 and buy presents for their families. But we can't do that this year. So I made a holiday gift. Whoops, like my green screen. I made a holiday gift shop kit for kids to purchase for $5. It comes with everything that you need to make 5 gifts and send 5 cards. It even has wrapping stuff and everything so that kids can make some gifts and give them to their families. It's a great way to empower kids so that they can be generous and be like have their own agency where they can make their own gifts or give something, for Christmas and the other winter holidays this year. And I will provide the videos and the instructions so the kids can do them. And they're super easy. Even the smallest elf can make them. So we just wanted to invite people to purchase this if you need one. The proceeds go to the RE program so that we can continue to provide awesome stuff for the kids in the RE program. Thanks so much.
Okay, Pam, you're next for the board welcome. You want to unmute.
Sorry about that. My name is Pamela Marr, and I'm the board liaisons with the Social Responsibility Committee, the Worship Committee, and the Music Committee. Welcome to our Unitarian Universalist congregation. We are a religious community who commit ourselves to diversity. We hope to nourish human differences, those of gender, race, age, ability, sexual orientation, political views, culture, class, and religious belief. Welcome to all who treasure freedom of conscience in the search for truth. We promise to do our best to provide you with a spiritual home. We extend a special welcome to our visitors today. We hope you will follow the UUC Facebook page and stay tuned for other events such as Wonderful Wednesdays and Sunday morning meditation. There are religious exploration classes for adults and small groups for support and an interest like book club. Also, families can follow our UUC Religious Exploration Facebook page. There are religious exploration classes for 4K through 9th grade and youth group every Wednesday online from middle school and high school. We are so glad you joined us today.
Good morning. My name is Allison Oliphant. I'm your worship associate this morning. We invite you to light your chalice at home. Whether we have come here with heart full or heart empty, with spirits high or low, rested or tired, hopeful or despairing, whether we have come here out of habit, conviction, loneliness, or curiosity, we belong here because we are here, and all that we have and all that we are is welcome here. This morning, we are together the heartbeat of this congregation. Our first reading is called The Fine Art of Being a Guest by Jeffrey Lockwood. The most important thing that I've learned in traveling to more than 20 countries is the art of being a guest. And I'm a particularly fine visitor at the supper table. I've consumed live fish in Inner Mongolia, not quite coagulated blood sausage on the Tibetan plateau, shredded pig's ear in China, grilled lamb fat in Uzbekistan, horse steaks in Kazakhstan, vodka made from fermented mare's milk in Siberia, Vegemite in Australia, goat in Brazil, and snails in France. I don't have an iron stomach by any means, but I do have the will to be a virtuous visitor. We are all visitors, even when we are home. Our time in any relationship or place is ultimately limited. We are passing through. Nobody stays forever. How we might act if we consider ourselves guests in the lives of friends and family. Being a good guest is rather simple in principle, but occasionally challenging in practice. One begins by demanding nothing more than the bare elements of life and dignity, which every host is more than delighted to exceed. The good guest then simply allows the other person to be a good host, to share his gifts, to play her music, to tell his stories, to show her places, and to serve his foods. Finally, a guest should cultivate and express genuine gratitude. It need not be effusive or exorbitant, only sincere. We might also think of ourselves as uninvited, but not unwelcome guests of the planet. And I think the rules of being a good guest of the world are just the same. Ask little, accept what is offered, and give thanks. Now is the time in our service where we share our joys and concerns. You may share your joys and concerns in the chat, and I will share them aloud in this circle of community of care. We will have a moment of silence as you share your joys and concerns. Reverend Julie lights a candle for a friend suffering from COVID. We light a candle for concern over the challenges to our democracy right now. Marcia shares her granddaughter has a Suzuki Christmas concert today. The Jacobs Trio will perform as a special performance. Angie lights a candle of joy for this community. Susan shares, we are mourning our dear relative Mary, who passed from COVID last week. On Facebook, Danny says she would like to light a candle for a friend with ongoing cancer treatment. I would like to light a candle of joy for my daughter who got to spend all weekend with her grandparents this weekend, her first nights away from us in more than a year. So that was amazing for her and for us. Ashley has a new niece who was born and is in the NICU. From Laurel, my mother living with dementia in isolation in an assisted living. Ralph's joy is that science is making great progress on overcoming the virus and climate challenges despite anti-science rhetoric. I will now light a candle for all of the unspoken joys and concerns. You can join me in reading the words in the chat. Love is the spirit of this church and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
May I be filled
Our story for all ages is The Noble Ibex. This is from Kindness, a Treasury of Buddhist Wisdom for Children and Parents, collected and adapted by Sarah Conover. Once upon a time, the Buddha was born as an ibex, a magnificent and beautiful wild goat. The tranquil forest in which he lived was far from civilization, but because of its great beauty, hunting parties would at times make long journeys to reach it. On one such occasion, a king and his friends arrived to go hunting. The next morning, they set out on horseback. The king saw the splendid ibex and dashed away in chase, leaving the group far behind. When the ibex heard the pounding of hooves, he turned and saw the king with bow drawn with an arrow. Although the ibex could have fought the king's attack, he chose to avoid violence and began running. The ibex came to a familiar, small, deep chasm and leapt over it effortlessly. When the king's horse approached the same rocky cliff, it stopped abruptly and refused to jump, throwing the king headlong into the chasm. After a while, the ibex heard no hoofbeats in pursuit. He stopped and looked back to see the riderless horse at the chasm's edge. He realized what had happened to the king, and a sudden welling of kindness came over him. Realizing that the king must be injured, the ibex returned to the chasm edge and saw the king far below, moaning and writhing in pain. The former Buddha gently inquired, "I hope your majesty has no serious wounds. Might the pain of your injuries be diminishing by now?" The king looked up at the ibex in utter astonishment. He felt a dreadful pang of remorse for his behavior towards this noble animal. "You see, your excellency," comforted the ibex, "I am no wild beast to be hunted for sport. I am just a peaceful creature living in this beautiful forest." "Oh," blurted the king, "it is I who acted as a beast, not you. Can you ever forgive me?" he asked. "My physical pain right now," continued the king, "is far less than the pain I feel for having threatened a noble creature as yourself." "Sire," responded the ibex, "I can rescue you if you'll trust me. If you mount me as you would your horse, I will leap out of the chasm with you on my back." With the king on his back, the ibex leapt in a great arc onto the cliff rim, where the king found his waiting horse, but he was so overtaken by the goodness of the ibex that he could not leave. "What can I do to repay you?" asked the king. "There is one great favor I would ask of you." "Anything," said the king. "I ask that you give up hunting for sport." "A true king," proclaimed the ibex, "will gain his people's love by showing great goodness, not by showing power." The king returned to his palace, and the ibex disappeared into the shelter of the forest. The king lived by the wise words of the noble ibex, the former Buddha. He forbade hunting and protected his people, but no longer waged war. His kingdom flourished. He was greatly loved and respected by his people as the gentlest and wisest of all the kings.
So how does kindness begin? Where does kindness start? If I say to you, start where you are, that seems pretty obvious. Of course I start where I am. This is where I am, right? What if I ask you, do you know where your heart is? Do you know where you are starting from? This could be tricky to start where you are. So I want you to hear these words. Maybe they are your words. Somewhere in there, I want you to claim your words to start where you are. I am a mother. I am a grandmother. I am a brother, a worker. I am a teacher. I am happy for this beautiful day. I am holding a grudge against my sister for not calling me. My heart is feeling burdened. I am feeling ugly. I am feeling lost. I am feeling. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. I'm ready to go deeper. I'm remembering the joy of rain on bare feet. I am remembering the sound of snow as it hits my roof. I'm remembering my hopes that I have accomplished. I'm remembering that I have hope. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. Breathe in, breathe out. I am a motherless child. I am a person who loves movies. I am a strong person. I am connected to the air on this planet. I share the recycled air on the spinning blue ball with every breathing human. I am breathing. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. I am living. I am praying for my mind to quiet. I am you. I am everything. When I breathe out love. Peeling down those onion layers to start where we are is not as simple as one shot experience of writing down, my name is Julie. I grew up in South Carolina. I'm a youngest child. Okay. But where am I? Where am I starting from? I'm really tired of this freaking pandemic. Tired of being stuck in my house. I miss you guys. I want to be together again. Okay. That's better. And then we go deeper. It's a practice of mindfulness. And believe it or not, it's also a practice of kindness because we are listening to where we are, to who we are, and being kind to that person. You know, I'm a beginner at meditation in so many ways. You know, I feel like I've been trying to do it for years, and I still feel like I have so much to learn. But I will not abandon it because I know the benefits are great. And I can, you know, get in that cycle of, well, you're not doing it right, or that's not enough. And that's the whole reason to do meditation is to quiet those critics and to calm that space. And when I was a chaplain at a homeless ministry in Atlanta, I did not find solace in Psalms or a lot of the Hebrew text or biblical texts that my peers in seminary did, even though I knew there was, you know, hope and solace there. The most solace I found was sitting on a mat at the Atlanta Soto Zen Center. It was being able to sit and be present with my feelings and to relax into them. Because I think many of us have spent our lives trying to mask our feelings, trying to make them better, trying to run away from them. And we don't always get the message that it's okay to feel your feelings. I have a friend in Atlanta that I've reconnected with, and she was a part of my UU playgroup there, and when I was a member in Roswell, Georgia. And I was so impressed with her. She would always, you know, many parents would shush their crying children and say, you know, oh, it's okay, it'll be better. And she would just say, that's okay, tell me about your feelings. You know, or something along that line. And instead of, and I feel like she taught me, you know, my first idea is to run after somebody with a Kleenex and say, it's okay, it's okay. And instead I'm telling them, it's not okay to feel your feelings, and here's some Kleenex to shut you up. and even though I thought I was being kind, instead sitting with that person, letting them grieve, being quiet and listening instead of chasing them to make myself not feel uncomfortable is kind. So his heart. Pema Chodron is a Tibetan Buddhist nun. She's been a Tibetan Buddhist nun, in fact, since 1974. And she is at a Tibetan monastery, which is for Westerners. And she helped bring the wisdom of Buddhist practices and teaching to the West. And she writes that we may think that knowing ourselves is a very ego-centered thing. But by beginning to look clearly and honestly at ourselves, we begin to dissolve the walls that separate us from others. The journey of awakening happens just as the place where we can't get comfortable. Opening to the discomfort is the basis of transmuting our so-called negative feelings. We somehow want to get rid of those negative feelings by justifying them or squelching them, but it turns out this is just like throwing out the baby with the bathwater. So choosing self-awareness is not always an easy choice. I know there's some days where I'd rather stay asleep and hide. And if I'm unaware of the pain in the world, then I'm also certainly unaware of the joy there also. An open heart leads us to peaks and valleys. An open awareness equips us to make choices mindfully. And I'm not talking about, just laying yourself open and feeling all the feelings, because we have to survive in a tough environment. But it's paying attention to those feelings and what's going on there. Thich Nhat Hanh is a poet, Zen master, and has always been an ambassador of Buddhism to the West. And in his book, Being Peace, he writes, in Buddhism, the most important precept of all is to live in awareness, to know what's going on, to know what is going on not only here, but there. Awareness can affect measurable actions in everyday life. So one example is eating and shopping habits. During the pandemic, it has been really easy just to go chocolate, chocolate, eat my feelings. And it's been a mindfulness practice to try and step away from the chocolate. And also shopping. I know that can also be a mindfulness practice. I did a number of years ago, I did unplugging the Christmas machine, and recently did it with Jonah. And it's amazing that if you deconstruct, those ideas of what you should be doing and find joy in what you'd actually like to be doing, there is more joy in that. Also, I know a lot of us try and shop local and reduce our packaging. If we buy products with lots of packaging, it hurts the planet. And it's one thing I've been doing this holiday is to try and reuse bags and not buy any wrapping paper that you can't recycle. And I'm a terrible wrapper, so actually reusable bags are wonderful. And that's a kindness to me, so I don't feel like my package looks terrible. Thich Nhat Hanh writes, every day we do things. We are things that have to do with peace. If we are aware of our lifestyle, our way of consuming, or looking at things, we will know how to make peace in the moment that we are alive, the present moment. And so this doesn't have to be something where we sit on a mountain and suddenly there's nirvana. This can be simply at the grocery store. You look at the ingredients and you say, is this sustainable? Can I recycle this? Especially now, I know my provider only recycles 1 and 2 plastic recycling, and it's making me look at everything. How can I find something in a glass jar that I know is recyclable? Or instead of getting number 5, can I get a number 2? And it's kind of a joy to think about, how can I make less impact, less trash in my trash can every time. And anyway, that's one of the ways that I find a joy in mindfulness. So when you're stressed out, how do you escape? Do you turn on Netflix? Do you eat chocolate? Do you shop online? What is it that you do? Moving away from grief temporarily, or moving away from sadness, is good. But the society that we live in teaches us to move away from our feelings. Buy more, look younger, be prettier with dyeing your hair, whatever, whatever it is, this message, cover it up, make it look better. Calgon, take it away. Instead of saying, hey, it's okay. It's okay to sit with your grief and to be sad and do the things that you need to do. Pema Chodron, in her book, Start Where You Are, A Guide to Compassionate Living, explains that the reason we are often not there for others in matters of compassion is that we're not there for ourselves. She writes, because we escape, we keep missing being right here on the dot. We keep missing the moment that we're in. Yet if we can experience the moment that we're in, we discover that it is unique, precious, and completely fresh. It never happens twice. One can appreciate and celebrate each moment. There's nothing more sacred. There's nothing more vast or absolute. And Pema Chodron makes the radical claim that indeed there is nothing more. I know there are times when I am addicted to my phone, and I love news. And so I'll be like, oh, the Congress, what are they doing in Congress? What's going on with the vaccine? And then, Aaron will be like, hey, Mom. And, or Carl will say, hey, something's going on with the cats. Oh, you just missed it. And I feel like I miss things if my head's down. So I try and put my phone away at dinner, and I'm not always good about that. But it's being in that moment that's powerful. The Dalai Lama said that compassion is not a religious business. It is a human business. It is not luxury. It is it is essential for our own peace and mental stability. It is essential for human survival. We've looked at how people are acting about masking. Masking is a compassionate act. Simple, straightforward. Love your neighbor, mask. And yet, I'm seeing people from my childhood places of origin posting on pages, just attacking each other over masking, and saying, oh, it's a hoax. It's all a hoax. Everything's rigged. It's all faux. It is just, and it's not born out of, it's born out of wanting to be right. And born out of this sense of entitlement and division, instead of, even if it's uncomfortable, you might be saving a life. And every person, every scientist, every doctor is begging us to mask. And I know that I'm probably preaching to the choir in this group, but it's a frustration. And that's when my compassion is tested. I've had to literally walk away from my computer so I don't respond to a post or respond to a comment on the news. Don't read the comments on the news. Just don't. It'll make your blood pressure go. But, how do we find that kindness in our society again? How do we foster that? And to practice kindness for ourselves, to know that it's frustrating and that we don't have to be this perfect, Mother Teresa, like, oh, I love you, you're great. It's like, no, it's like, put on your darn mask. You're making me angry. That's real. That's right. That's right where I am. But I don't have to say that. I can have compassion and be like, it would really help this person who might have cancer if you would wear a mask, or it might really help a doctor. Yeah. Anyway, it's that digging deep. So, the Dalai Lama, in responding to a question as to how he might spend his old age, answered that he might be in a monastery in China. He said they have some lovely old Buddhist monasteries there. It's just, this seems incomprehensible that the Dalai Lama would respond that way when China invaded Tibet, tortured its people, and he displays this compassion. You know, he could hate the Chinese, but he knows that hating the Chinese will not solve the pain or suffering of a diaspora religion. And it's the same reorientation that many of the post-Holocaust Jews had, that they survived a horror, and they could have replaced evil with evil, but many chose to heal themselves and try and go on and heal the world, and to keep that light and remember it's going, to know that there is evil in the world. And you know, being kind does not deny that there is evil. It denies that we have to choose the same path, you know, that we can choose a different path. And you know, the Dalai Lama cannot change the past, neither can we, but we can choose to live in the moment, refusing the power of hate, choosing awareness of the world that is. We live in a suffering world. We live in the midst of a pandemic. This, you know, in America has killed more people than World War II. A lot of people are suffering. And this is when our kindness to ourselves and others matters the most. Dalai Lama says, "My religion is simple. My religion is kindness." So I hope that you will think in these times of pressure from wanting to gather with family, feeling separate or maybe alone, that there is light in the world, and it comes from simple actions. You know, opening a door for someone who's struggling, sending a holiday card to someone who does not get them. These small acts of kindness, and they ripple out in the world. They do change things. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease, and may you be whole. Amen, and blessed be. With gratitude for the abundance in our lives, we give to help people in need, to support the work of this congregation. This month, our 50-50 recipient is the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. And they certainly spread much kindness in the world, helping people with hurricane relief and those in poverty and the environment. You can donate online or text to give at 84321. Our checks can be mailed to UUC at 421 South Farwell Street in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Thank you so much. The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
please join me at home with extinguishing your chalice? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
For those of you watching from our Facebook live stream, I'm so glad that you joined us today. If you'd like to get more information on how to join services in Zoom, you can fill out a visitor link on our Facebook page. It's in the comments on this video. And those attending in Zoom, we will take a brief moment after service to share joys and concerns that might not have been shared during service. Our closing words this morning are from John O'Donohue. And if you haven't read him before, he's got some beautiful writing. This is called For Belonging. May you listen to your longing to be free. May the frames of your belonging be generous enough for your dreams. May you arise each day with a voice of blessing whispering in your heart. May you find a harmony between your soul and your life. May the sanctuary of your soul never become haunted. May you know the eternal longing that lives at the heart of time. May there be kindness in your gaze when you look within. May you never place walls between the light and yourself. May you allow the wild beauty of the invisible world to gather you, find you, and embrace you in belonging. Amen and namaste. Go in peace.